today's video is going to be rating the season 1B, which is basically the season is split into two halves. You have A and B, which makes up the whole season. So we're going to be starting with season 1, episode 15. I like how they recapped what happened in the first half of the season. It meant that for new people who started watching it, can find out what happened in the first half of the season. And also it gave those who watched the first half of the season a bit of a reminder, recap. If you want to know more about this episode, then I ranked the mid-season finales, so I do go into really why I like it, rather than just the things I like. I like how everyone was doing their natural thing. Felt like a natural episode. How people were stretching, warming up, tying their hair up, and all that general stuff. But your girl rules I find are quite silly. Especially number 1. I find that Stephanie is being a bit mean to Tiffany. And Tiffany makes a good point. That she chose what was best for the team, and how the e-girls are done, they need to join the rest of the group. I think it is silly that Stephanie does let the dance captain thing ruin friendships, because that's just a bit immature. West, as well as saying the hilarious, funny stuff, he also says sensible stuff about how they need everyone for regionals, and I thought that was quite a sensible thing to say. Michelle definitely comes up with good ideas to help people, like she helped James with his math by saying he leaves for 2 weeks and then focuses on his studies and then ups his grades and then comes back. Riley and James in season 1, I liked them so much. James and Riley had the bestest, nicest moments in season 1. Emily can be mean in fact that she says that Michelle is that laughable, that she's really that bad of a choreographer she can't come up with her own ideas. I thought that was mean, because she's trying to be as inclusive as possible. Stephanie, you can tell, backs up Emily, especially in season 1. Season 2 onwards, you don't see it as much. They really start to learn right from wrong, and Daniel is definitely the I don't want drama boy. But yeah, he's very dramatic. I like the things Wes says. My favourite character will change, so keep on watching to find out what my favourite character changes to. Riley and Daniel's lifts are so good is one thing I'm going to admit. And I have a very itchy back. Kind of get where Emily's coming from, in a way that Michelle may never make it as dance captain, but just join in, dance, participate, because it's fun. The one thing I'm gonna put in this video at the start is, because Daniel's injury came up in this episode, it's gonna be in terms of Daniel's injury. He had an injury, and Miss Kate didn't know, whereas Daniel told Emily Rochelle was injured, and Emily didn't do anything, so Emily should have been fired. But not Michelle, because she didn't know. Same as Miss Kate had no idea about Daniel's injury. Just thought I'd pop my opinion in there. Emily does make a point that at the moment Michelle's not doing bad as a dance captain. Riley and Emily are the classic sisters. You fall out, you make up, but ultimately you're going to be there for each other. I did a video on ranking the siblings on the next step on my channel, so go check it out. Subscribe down below, where I talk about the next step siblings in more detail. I liked this episode a lot. There were more things I liked than didn't like. Emily and Riley gonna be glad when they make up again. I'm going to rate it 9 out of 10. Next, I'm moving on to Season 1, Episode 16. I do like watching a troupe rehearse and practice their dances. I enjoy it a lot. I like how Michelle doesn't see it as a big issue, Chloe having a job, because I don't get why it's such a big deal. Like, most people their age have jobs. I do agree with Tiffany in the fact that regionals is coming up. They gotta be ready. They can't have one person in the back being sad. Well, that's what he says about Emily being a drama queen. It's actually quite funny. And I can see why Michelle is frustrated with Emily, because she's not even marking it. She's not even doing it. I think Emily is being harsh with Michelle. I think Michelle's routine is good. Alden defending Michelle is... I don't know really how I feel about that, to be honest. But Michelle needs to learn to stand on her own 2 feet. Michelle and Alden, it would have been nice if they could have got together in season 1, and also it would have been nice if they didn't do it behind Emily's back. I like how James and Daniel and how they're friends. Daniel, Sokoto, what are you talking about? No idea. Definitely no idea. It looks a bit weird on camera, me doing that. James is definitely right. Daniel needs to get his injury under control and he needs to do something about it. Alden and Emily, I like the moments they had in this episode, but still do not ship them. It'd been nice instead of a relationship if they could just develop into close best friends, because close best friends is so much more relatable than relationships. Pardon? Gas. Alden makes good points to Emily to just be honest, even though it is embarrassing. I like seeing Emily and Alden open up. I liked it a lot. I think Michelle at the moment is doing a good job as dance captain. But Michelle being dance captain, being good at it, could change. So carry on watching. Alden helping Emily with the routine I like. I still do not ship them. Like, I will say it a lot, but I don't ship them. I like Emily telling Stephanie to just do the audition for their lines rather than just leave. You can see Emily is trying to tell Stephanie what is right rather than backing her up. The one thing that I can't get my head around is why Chloe having a job is such a big deal and why you need to make fun of it and why people have to be mean about it. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what I thought of everyone's auditions for their line placements. Wes does good flips, and he is good at turning. Tutting. Alden, free move is so sharp and precise and so amazing. Emily's giving it her all and does the moves well, and it's nice to see her actually try. I literally cannot tut, but that is my attempt at tutting. Daniel has such good technique. Tiffany did it so well and sharp and so precise, and she had the fierce and the sassiness. Riley did the moves really well. Michelle definitely did well on the line placements. Good episode. Nice to see a troupe in like fresh lines. And I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Next is season 1, episode 17. I do like seeing a troupe rehearse again. And Emily, I'm pretty sure Michelle doesn't have a crush at this point. James and Riley video chatting is such a good moment. Michelle at the moment is still good as dance captain. Not gonna lie, it would have been nice to see more of Emily and Giselle's friendship when Giselle made it more into a troupe. And just like throughout the show, it would have just been nice to see more of that. Because Emily wanted Giselle to get back into a troupe and then they just didn't even acknowledge that. Alden's definitely a good friend to Emily, but I do agree with Michelle that Emily isn't good enough to be front row, to be honest. I would have had Emily in the back because She's a good dancer, but she's not a front row dancer. And also we had typical Tiffany digging for gossip. Even though Riley's only trying to help James with math because they need him for regionals. Not too sure about Emily and Eldon switching lines because Emily did well in an audition, but Eldon was so good. His moves were so sharp, precise and so dynamic. But he's front row material. Daniel is right about Emily and Eldon being in the switching lines, but he is being kind of dramatic. Emily and Stephanie leaving the studio. Cliffhanger. Dun dun dun. Definitely. Big cliffhanger. So, I like the episode. Emily thinking Michelle's a crush on Alden, not true. The only thing I didn't like was that, to be honest. It was a nice episode. Good to have cliffhangers, definitely good to have cliffhangers. Next is season 1, episode 18. Wow, Elite is such a twist. When I first watched it, I was so shocked at the plot twist. Eldon, the team needs to find a replacement. There's no time to wait around for them to audition, get into Elite, go to regionals and then beat the next step. There are loads of good dancers in B Troop. That's one thing I like about later in the season is we see B Troop rehearsing rather than acting around like fools, and we get to see their talent. And I really just enjoy seeing like B Troop's talent. So I'm going to talk about the B Troopers auditioning. Zach's flips are amazing. He's definitely good at entertaining people. I have a video on my channel called Who from B Troop Should Make It onto A Troop. Check it out. Because I share who's most likely to be on A Troop and who is less likely. The unknown girl in the light blue top has good technique, good kicks, but that's kind of all she did. Sarah is so good, really good kicks, turns and fantastic acro. The unknown dancer in the stripy hood, who I don't know their name, has good flips but kind of boring. The unknown dancer in the red and white stripy top that I think might be Zara, but I'm not sure. Had a good aerial, had some sass, but was just a bit boring. Charlie's okay, had some waves, did some tricks. I found he rushed things and was very repetitive. You could predict what he was going to do. He did rush his flips. The unknown dancer in the green top has good kicks, lots of personality, found her exciting. Didn't like the drop into the splits. Next is Ben. I liked how he had good kicks, great turns, good front aerial, good flip. Beth did better in this audition than she did at the start of the season in the auditions. Splits were good, it was clean, lots of personality, good side aerial. She was good and definitely a standout performer, she had good kicks. Though Beth wanting to be on A Troop just because of James, lame. Not keen on that. I do like Riley and James video chatting, best Charlie moments ever. It's nice that the team wants to help James with his math. Elite studio, despite them being the next step rivals, their studio is like state of the art. I would say compared to the next step, it is state of the art. Lucian, lie. You have heard of the next step. Amanda and Lucian are definitely trying to mess with Emily and Stephanie's heads, and it is funny. Like, it is so funny. Riley definitely helped James to believe he can do maths and dance. Alden and Emily, I'm surprised that they got together, also I still don't ship them despite them getting together. Emily is right, Alden just needs to say it and doesn't need to be so awkward about it. I'm happy for Alden that he got Emily, but that doesn't mean I ship him. I would have liked Emily and Nick to be together though, because they're who I really ship. Even if Emily and Hunter got back together, I'd still ship that too. Giselle's so good. She has good kicks, good turns, her acro's amazing, her signature move, the spider's incredible. Wow, James's flip was so good. Emily, I would say, is a better dancer than Stephanie. Giselle definitely has good flips. Wow, Stephanie coming back. Cliffhanger. Dum dum dum. Sort of thinking, why has Stephanie come back? Where is Emily? Have they made it into Elite? Have they not made it into Elite? I like the episode. I can agree that Elite is state of the art. I like how there's multiple locations in the episode. How we saw James at school, the Juice Bar, Elite, Studio A, outside. I rate it a 9 out of 10. Next is Season 1, Episode 18. Stephanie coming back to A Troop, yeah, neutral with that. Glad the next step have one spot to fill. But I never liked Stephanie and how mean and how bossy she can be. Riley's solo that she did to Where Did Everybody Go? So good, she had fantastic emotion, she emotes really well, she had good technique, she had good transitions. Such a good part when James walks in on Riley's solo and he tells her he's passed math. And also you realise that everyone's gone, how he left and how Emily left, and Jiley moments were the best in Season 1. You can also now tell very discreetly that Michelle has a crush because she's sort of doing this with her hair. To be honest, in Season 1 I just wish Emily and Alden didn't date and that Michelle and Alden got together, because I definitely ship them. I don't ship Emily and Alden. Definitely can agree with Alden that him and Michelle are on the same page with choreo. The dance they did in this episode, I do like. They're upbeat, has lots of good things about it. It is so clean and so together. And Daniel definitely should tell Miss Kate about his injury. That's one thing I have to agree on, that it was Daniel's responsibility. I like Michelle and Alden's duet in they have so much chemistry together, and how they have such a good dance and how they have such good technique. Not my most favourite dance, but a good dance. I love James and Riley's first date. Daniel dancing his solo, it's so good. He has such good technique. He does every move so while his jumps are so high. James came up with the best idea for his date. Good episode, lots of bits I loved. I didn't really think a lot to this episode when I first watched it, but now I think a lot to it. I'm gonna rate it 9 out of 10. And also going to say, definitely think Michelle and Alden have more chemistry than Emily and Alden. Next, I'm going to be rating Season 1, Episode 20. Michelle and Alden's duet can be summed up in effortless and beautiful. So amazing. You can tell how free their duet is. The lifts are really good. Not a big fan of Emily and Alden's relationship because it doesn't feel as free-flowing as that. Like, Michelle and Alden are so free-flowing, whereas it's never been that way with Emily and Alden. Their relationship is Alden's essentially a quote book. And he'd be better off dating Michelle, where it's not just a quote book. And also he wouldn't have to worry about catching feelings, and he wouldn't have to break up with Emily. Leet's routine is amazing. If you're thinking about the siblings on the next step and like who the classic sibling is, it's Emily and Riley. Because they fall out, they make up, but ultimately they're there for each other. Especially that came across in season 4, I felt like. Riley definitely makes a good point in reasons why Michelle is dance captain, because she was doing it for the team. Eldon makes some good points to Emily about how she's new to one of the most prestigious studios ever. And she'll start off at the back and then she'll get to that front row position. I'm glad that Emily and Riley make up because yay, they're one of my favourite siblings. I think I picked Piper and James as my favourite siblings. Which they are. Like, I definitely would say Piper and James are my favourite. Like, they're the first not same-sex siblings. Like, one's a boy, one's a girl, if you get what I mean. I am so happy James and Riley finally got together in this season. Yay! I love this episode. I love how emotional Michelle and Eldon's duet is. How Riley and James have finally got together, and I'm glad Emily and Riley are back to being sisters. Generally an all-round good episode. I'm going to rate it a 9 out of 10. Next is season 1, episode 21. I love Giselle's solo. She has so much energy, personality in her solos. Giselle has really good acro tricks as well as good technique. Giselle has some really good turns. I think her turns are really underrated. Michelle bringing in the Bretanatim dancers is definitely good and showed her making her mark as dance captain. And I'll come on to that later. Daniel should have definitely said something about his injury. Wes says such crazy stuff. Eldon has such good turns. I definitely like their regionals routine. I definitely think Daniel should have said something about his injury and have not done the lift, but that is my opinion. Comment down below your opinions if that's what you really want to do. Good episode. Daniel should have said something about his injury, but apart from that, it was good. 9 out of 10 is my rating. Next is season 1, episode 22. You can tell how awkward the dance is and how the flow's gone now that Daniel's not there. Michelle's come up with an idea, a kind of good idea, kind of crazy idea. Definitely don't ship Beth and James. Beth is a total idiot. I definitely think Elite's routines are good, like, really good. Not loved them out very well. A video on my channel where I talk about the next steps rivals, so if you want to know more on that, check it out. Beth, definitely season 1, quite annoying. She was all over James. Even though James has a significant other, sisters before misters. And also, if someone you like has got a significant other, don't date them. Wes definitely makes good points about James and how he can't balance math and the solo. He can balance math and dance, but he can't balance the solo for regionals and maths. Manu and Lucian scheming, not good. I definitely think I know, I say it a lot. Eldon should have dated Michelle instead of Emily. It is good Emily's coming back because they've got someone for regionals. Good episode, not keen on Beth. Apart from that, enjoyed it. Pardon, gonna rate it an 8 out of 10. Next is season 1, episode 23. This is probably one of my favourite episodes. Enjoy seeing multiple locations. We have the Juice Bar, Studio A, the park, the streets. Wes does some sick flips, and they definitely sang some funny stuff. Also, the next step, having a big main rival, is a recurring storyline. Riley and Emily are my second favourite siblings. I like how they're a true representation of the siblings. You fall out, you make up, but ultimately you're going to be there for each other at the end of the day. Season 1, Riley is definitely the best. Riley, she was definitely independent, less reliant on boys. And also, she if a boy don't treat her right, she's like, get in the bin. And also, she always did what was best for the team. In later seasons, she was a bit more self-centered. James and West definitely done crazy stuff and come out with crazy stuff, like the double coconut sub with extra mayo. Love the fact that A-Troop are battling seeds because it was fun to watch the dance battle. Definitely agree that West should have let them know before joining A-Troop. This is the episode where I think Michelle doesn't do the best job as a dance captain. Emily definitely comes up with good ideas and is authoritative and makes good points and her voice is heard. Glad Michelle and Emily are cool with each other. West is so good, his flips are sick. Seeds are definitely bringing all their top moves to the dance battle. Giselle's front aerial was amazing. She just came out with it like it was nothing. Boom. Definitely think Michelle and Alden definitely, you can tell how confused they both are about whether they've got feelings or not. Definitely Michelle and Emily being co-captains would be a good thing. Glad that Emily and Michelle are now finally, yay, getting on. Good episode. Gonna rate it 10 out of 10. Next is season 1, episode 24. I'm glad Emily and Michelle are now co-captains, yay. Agree with James, having both Emily and Michelle's strengths really helps to pull the team together. Emily makes a good point to do with Michelle and Alden's duet. I like seeing the team just brainstorming ideas together. And it's not just what the dance captain wants, it's actually a group effort. Chloe having a job still should not be a problem because if ever in season 5 working was not a problem. Most people their age have jobs and everyone was like understanding with Heather that she had a job and needed to work and couldn't afford it. Well, it's nice to see this new side to Emily that we haven't seen before. I like how Emily is less of a bitch. Yeah, Michelle is right. Who hasn't been on a bus? Which I definitely agree. Like, I've been on a bus. Definitely Emily appreciating Chloe more and glad that she finally understands what's going on in her life. West again says some crazy stuff. Emily's plan definitely worked. Good episode. Glad that A-Troop helped Chloe. It was such a nice, wholesome moment. Happy that Emily and Michelle are now co-captains. Yay, such a good episode. Loved it. 10 out of 10. Next is season 1, episode 25. The regionals routine looks amazing. West is hilarious. Oh, he has pajamas and how he like just comes with his pajamas and how he's like gotta be prepared in case there's a pajama party. Funny watching Emily with Tiffany's hands when they're trying to put lipstick on. West's moves are so sick. Giselle has crazy contortions. James bought something new and different. James is so sweet giving Riley his movie choice. James and Riley are so sweet in season 1. It's funny watching Emily do the salting cracker challenge. As I say a lot, I do wish Michelle and Alden are together, but I can understand Michelle's reasons for not going through with their feelings. The pizza looks so good. The girls did such a good prank. Really love this episode. It's one of my favourites. Gonna rate it a 10 out of 10. Next is season 1, episode 26. Excuse me. I do hate it when burps get stuck. Michelle, you can tell, definitely likes Alden, and Alden likes Michelle. The costumes are kind of weird, kind of crazy. Alden is sweet to Emily by getting her a juice. I wish that Alden and Michelle were together and Alden was sweet to Michelle. Costumes are crazy. It's funny to watch. So sad that Michelle was rejected by Alden. Good episode, not much happened though. I'll rate it 10 out of 10. Next is season 1, episode 27. All the competitions that Next Up have done have been amazing to watch. Season 1 regionals was better than Season 4 regionals. It was great to see Daniel again, and I love Wish You Well. Wish You Well. Love the moment the next step gets out onto the regional stage. That was such a beautiful moment. There's definitely something there between Michelle and Eldon. Amanda definitely in Season 1 was mean and just didn't feel bad. She could be a bit of a bitch, I would say. I agree with Michelle that Amanda has no reason to talk to them. She should just go off and talk to her own team. Wes comes out with the craziest stuff about how he has matching socks. West's flips are so good. Seeds, their style is so good. Like, they may do one style, but it's so good. Their tricks are amazing. Good episode. Not keen on Amanda. And the kind of thing she said to the next step, you can tell Elite is the next step's biggest rivals. Gonna rate it a 9 out of 10. Next is Season 1, Episode 28. The next step, they put so much into their routine. Our next Dance Academy did tap, but it was so boring. But it was good. Glad the next step made it through the first round, yay. I agree with the fact that every dance team is so good. Yay, the next step's moving on. How much can I say the next step have a good routine? Definitely want Michelle and Eldon to become one. Dance Inc. are good, their turns and everything is so good. James definitely said something intelligent about the wild card. Elite, their dance is a work of art. They have such good technique. They have such a good dance. There's nothing wrong with it. Art and Soul, they have a really good dance. It's contemporary, it's best. It's such a strong dance. But they have no shot of beating Elite. Elite, they also set up their routine right from the beginning. The tricks, the lifts are unreal. It's perfectly mapped out. The choreo is incredible. Their dance is just impeccable. Their turns are amazing. Michelle and Alden, something is definitely there between them, and I'm so happy the next step got the wildcard spot. Michelle and Alden, I'm gonna be glad when they finally get together. Lots of good routines, a good episode. I'm gonna rate it 10 out of 10. Next, I'm gonna move on to Season 1, Episode 29. So glad they got the wildcard spot. Amanda bragging about how they already won regionals is uncalled for. Elite have a huge ego. Elite walking through the next steps rehearsal is rude. That was just rude. Amanda was definitely had an ego. And Emily definitely going to break up and Michelle and Alden and become one. Season 1, James was definitely the piece of the puzzle that Riley was missing, and Riley was the pieces of the puzzle James was missing. Seeds, their choreo is clean, their style is tight, but the next step will beat them because Seeds is a one-trick pony, whereas the next step, just bring it. The turn sequence is so good, everything's just amazing. So glad the next step beat Seeds, yay! Definitely, Elite's plane was massive. Wes says some such crazy things. Yeah, but I don't know how a duet will beat the plane. Good episode. Amanda definitely had a huge ego, and it's all up there. Elite and the next step are bitter rivals, like it is very bitter. And I would say they're both equally as bitter back. Like there's not one that's more bitter than the other. Finally, I am gonna be rating. I'm gonna rate it 8 out of 10. Finally, we're gonna be rating Season 1, Episode 30. Yep, I'm so glad Eldon's breaking up with Emily and getting with Michelle. Celebration. Celebrate, good times, come on. Alden is definitely doing what's best for the team in telling Emily after regionals and just focusing on the competition, because one, it will mess things up, two, it will break her heart. Elite against the next step is a showdown. Elite just set their routine up right from the beginning. This routine can be described as a masterpiece. Pardon me, so much gas. What is wrong with Elite's dance? Nothing. Beth's still having feelings for James. Ugh, so annoying. I don't ship Jeff, I ship Jiley. I'm glad Emily and Alden have finally broken up. Yes, I don't ship them. The next step, dance, Michelle and Alden's duet. I didn't like the slow motion. Make the dance feel like it was taking ages to get started. The dance reflects Michelle and Alden's relationship, but everyone was kind of dancing around them. There was a lot going on in this dance, so things were missed. The lists were amazing, the unison sections were amazing. So happy the next step won regionals. I'm going to rate it 9 out of 10, because I hated the Beth bit. Like, that's the only bit I didn't like. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.